I'm Shelley and I'm in beautiful Cambodia. It is truly amazing to see this country rising from the ashes of its long history of war and genocide. Development is occurring at an astounding rate to once again mark Cambodia as a pearl of Asia, and tourists just love it. Thousands are flocking to see the many wonders here. There are two sides to Cambodia's rebirth. Sadly, there is a large group unable to celebrate in this newfound affluence. These scenes aren't part of the tour package. Countless organisations work in Phnom Penh to help the struggling families that live on the street. Conservative estimates number the children at 20,000. What you're about to witness is the harsh reality for these thousands of street children in this city. Try to view these stories through the eyes of a parent. Watch these children, study their faces. Imagine their days living and working here on these filthy streets. For many of them, school is not an option and will never be, so they are destined to continue on in this immense cycle of poverty. Their lives are but a shadow of what they should be. They deserve a childhood. They deserve a future to dream about. They deserve hope.
In this slum, we've been here for many years, so the trust has been built. It takes time to build trust, and it's always a nice welcome, full of smile, and the families are just happy that we show up and we remember them. That's, I think, what brings hope to people. Somebody out there remembers us.
Timothée is a French volunteer who has been living and working in these filthy slums for 14 years.
I mean, it's not fun to see a mother trying to take care of her kids and at the same time to try to earn some money under the sun. I mean, it's hot, you know, even though there's clouds and there's a bit of a breeze, it's hot. So think when you have to work 10 days, you know, carrying bricks, and you're thinking of your 7 kids, where are they? Some of them are on the streets collecting rubbish. It's a terrible life.
Around 60 families live in this slum. The makeshift houses are made from tin, wood, iron and plastic. Anything that can help provide shelter in this hot and often wet climate. Up to 10 people are crammed into each single room shed. There are no toilets, no running water, and not everyone has electricity. The dream of moving to the big city lights is one that will not come true.
Many of them have come from the countryside, and the countryside, sometimes I think was actually better, but they tried, you know, to make it in Phnom Penh, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked for any of them. So they cannot admit they failed. So to go back to the countryside and to say to the neighbors and friends, it didn't work. Losing face is the biggest sin, the biggest challenge, and they just cannot admit that it has not worked.
So they stay. They pick up any work they can find and eke out a meagre living for their families. And it's the children who suffer the most.
Many of them are going to drift and do what their parents know, which is collecting rubbish. Some might end up in the step below collecting rubbish, which is the worst place to be. So many girls will end up in brothels and bars and karaoke bars. They will earn quick money, but destroy their lives.
From as early as 4 years old, children are called upon to start bringing in money for the family. If there's no money, you do anything to get it. And they do. From prostitution to walking the streets for recyclable items to sell to a depot. But it's dangerous, and tens of thousands of children put their lives at risk every night here for nothing more than a few dollars.
What we would love to see is that they stop working on the streets altogether, because when you are his age and you're picking up trash, you know, at night, anything can happen. And Phnom Penh has become one of the world's capital of human trafficking. So women are sold, killed are sold, kids are sold, and they sometimes end up in Thailand and never come back to Cambodia. When I came to Cambodia in 99, I was told there were up to 20,000 kids living on the streets, sleeping on the pavement. And I saw that. I mean, we would have a bus, a mobile dropping center that would go from place to place in Phnom Penh and in a small town. And we would wake up the kids sleeping on the pavement and tell them, hey, the bus has arrived, come and get a shower, get your nails cut, and come and have a good 1 hour, away from the pavement. So that was a shock,
It is this that drives Tim to make a difference on the streets of Phnom Penh.
But you have less and less kids sleeping on the streets, but you have many kids working on the streets. So over the years, we've shifted our focus. We are not reaching out to the kids sleeping on the pavement, as we used to with the bus ministry. We are actually ministering in the slums where the kids come from.
Tim has founded the Bompa Own Project, which sponsors street children to go to school instead of working the streets. Bong means big brother or big sister. Paon means little brother or little sister. Every week, big brothers and sisters from the project venture into their assigned slums to encourage their little brothers or sisters to keep attending school. Bongs always go in pairs.
It's much easier for me to communicate with them, they said, because sometimes foreigners go to visit them, they cannot communicate. But when I visit them, they easily share their emotion inside.
This is Kim. She's 27 years old and works for the International Cooperation of Cambodia. In the evening, she studies, and on weekends, well, she's here. She's seen firsthand what the project has done for the families she supports.
Before they know the project, everyone went to collect rubbish with the mother and come back at night time. So after I know the project, and then I introduced to them, and they very happy to sign the contract. So the mother send all the kids to school now, and they do a very good job. They get a certificate reverse from English school and private school.
And we want to get the kids, rescue them the youngest possible before they take a fold. The longer you wait, the harder it is to get them into the right track. They don't know there is a right track. They think that the track they are on is the only one. So we need to get them on the right track from as young as possible.
Usually with the project we have one national Cambodian and one non-Cambodian. Chumna and I have been partners for about 8 or 9 months. Yeah, it's great. Now everybody comes over with sore feet. Everybody's got sore feet. Chumna and I come twice a week, so once during the weekend and once during the week.
And you feel really close to them?
Absolutely, yeah. I've just been home in New Zealand and I got an amazing welcome when I got back. Yeah, it's fantastic.
The project sponsors 3 families in this slum, Julie and Chumna overseeing the recipients, 3 teenage boys. And when this pair is in these parts, everyone flocks to them, especially if they're in need of medical attention.
Ooh, what happened here? Chumna, can you find out what happened here?
He cut a knife.
Just give you a little bit of something to make you feel better. And they've always got colds, they've always got runny noses. The hygiene's not great. It's pretty frustrating. And it's pretty frustrating because, we try really hard to educate them, but there's only so much you can do, and you just can't get too frustrated. You just have to come in and love them, and yeah. In this family, Bunta is the child that is sponsored. Bunta and Propal, his Paun. So they're sponsored the money that they would otherwise earn out collecting the recycling. And instead of doing that, Mum has thumbprinted a contract to say that they won't go and collect recycling, they will go to school.
Bunta's mother is given $30 a month. This minuscule amount could change the course of this boy's life forever.
Bunta, can you tell Shelley how old you are?
How
in
old?
English?
16 years old.
Bunta started school at the age of 12. He may be 16 now, but he's only in grade 4.
As long as they're motivated to do so? No. Yeah, so we would hope that he'd get I don't know how many grades, but obviously the older they get, the harder it is to be sitting in a classroom with kids who might be 4 or 5 years younger than you.
This golden opportunity for an education has given Wunta a chance to hope for a different future to that of his parents, and he dreams of becoming a hip-hop dancer.
Well, I truly believe, otherwise I wouldn't be here, that there is a hope and a future. That's what we believe, hey, Chumna, that if they take their education seriously and they get themselves out of bed and go, and Wunta knows that, you know, if he wants to do what he loves, he needs an education. The world's the oyster, really.
This is Wunta's house, which he shares with 7 brothers and sisters. It's one dark room with a fire for cooking at the back and sleeping quarters for the entire family at the front. For Julie, this feels like a world away from her corporate life in human resources in New Zealand, but she wouldn't have it any other way.
It's tipped my life completely on its head. It just has a different meaning, and I guess, you know, I can see that everything that I did before led up to this entirely. Nothing's wasted, and I loved my career and I loved my job, but to be able to see, the skills that I can use in an environment like this with organisations that are helping kids and families like this, it's incredibly humbling and it's incredibly rewarding. There are days that I go home and cry and do a bit of yelling with God, to God. I don't know, what's this about? How is this fair? Where is your glory? But he sees hope and potential in all of these people, and that's what we need to see, hope and potential.
Chumna feels it's her job to help other Cambodians see the need in these slums.
As a Cambodian, we have to do it by ourselves, not dependent on a foreigner. Foreigner come and then one day they will go back. But to us, we live here longer than them.
She may have a master's degree in law and work in reconciliation, but her true passion lies in rallying support for the project.
I create a blog and I share my activity on the Bompa Own Project and forward it to my friend. I hope that they can read it, and if God touch their heart, they will become part of our projects.
There are reports today that one of the sponsored boys has gone out to sell shells because his mother has been hurt.
But the story we just heard is that Mum fell over, and because of the concreted floor, she smacked her forehead on it, and I'm guessing she's at the clinic at the moment, so she couldn't go out and get money today, so Somnang's gone out to sell shells.
The girls take this very seriously, as the contract states that sponsored children must stop all work on the streets. If they don't, they could lose their opportunity for an education.
Honestly, it's case by case, and you have to take everything as it comes and make decisions. You know, the whole point of it is that they recognise this is a hand up, not a handout. We're not sponsoring you to have, rice and rent so that you can do both. Send your kids to school and still go out and get money, but it does seem like a bit of an extreme case. So yeah, we'll talk about it with the leadership team and see how we go.
Across the slum, it's getting dark. These big sisters know that if they're going to keep these teenage boys off the streets for good, they must try to help them fill in their time. If they don't, boredom may just tempt them back to street work again. A local youth group is having a get-together tonight. Wunta is in his element.
I guess a lot of people would say, but why would you take them to a movie theatre or take them to a dance concert or show them things they can't have? Well, we're showing them so that they see there is a possibility, and how do I have that? Well, you work hard and you go to school and you learn how to do maths and you learn how to write and read Khmer and, speak English. And then you can have a job, and that means you can earn money. God has an amazing plan, and they just need to be able to see that hope and be disciplined enough to get themselves out of bed and go to school and do their homework, and that's what Chumna and I are here for, just to encourage them to do that.
It's Sunday morning, 6:15 a.m. Time to pick up children from the slums and take them into the city. Myra is the project's new director. She is 57 years old and comes from Brazil.
I became a Christian when I was like 42 years old already. And then my heart was for kids. And then I started to pray for God to say where I have to go, with whom I want to work. And then I wanted to work with the poor people, these people that nobody wants to work with them.
In the youth program, children are treated to breakfast before they play games, worship, pray and learn from the Bible. There is normally no space to move up here, but not today. The government has ordered all Cambodian schools to close for 2 weeks to help eradicate a virus spreading among young people. It's already killed a handful of children. These youngsters are all that's left of a 300-strong group. The workers will take each child's temperature today and notify authorities if they suspect any symptoms. Myra has a lot of house calls to make. After all, she oversees 21 bongs and is one herself. This is a lake slum. One of Myra's little sisters lives here. It's hard to imagine, but in a few months this entire village will be underwater. The people here live off fish, rice and morning glory, a vegetable that grows in the polluted waterways.
But Monday, if you come here, you don't see nobody. They are all inside the lake trying to catch fish, they plant morning glory.
When the rain comes, Myra and Navi will have to trudge through knee-deep mud and go by boat to visit here. If that's not hard enough, can you imagine filthy, waste-filled water up to the very doorsteps of these shanties? It's not just a stench, but it's the risk of disease that's horrific. Visiting here is not for the faint-hearted.
Also, the bonds, they get discouraged very quickly also. Because when you see how difficult it is to work with the kids, sometimes they just stop. So, because they don't see the changing quickly, they just stop, they just give up.
Myra's been there too. In this job, you're exposed to the severity and cruelty of extreme poverty.
Because in Cambodia, you see very big contrast. The people driving the Lexus, like the big, nice car, Mercedes car, like so expensive car, and then you go on this line, you see the people don't have one bowl of the rice for eat. I saw many times the kids fight each other for one bowl of the rice. It just broke my heart. So how can I make a difference in this life?
Myra has been able to set up a church here. Last February, 9 people were baptised. It all started when she met Sina.
I met her the first time I come here. She's 15 years old, and she have a lot of the bruise, and she have epilepsy, and she has no teeth. So, and then I feel like I have to help her.
Myra took her to the dentist and enrolled her in school.
And then I start to teach a Bible here, and just there. And then I put the plastic, and the kids coming, and she started to learn about Jesus, and she just stopped, fall down. She just stopped, and then the people, the neighborhood saw that she don't have more like attack the epilepsy, and then everybody started to coming to see what is happening, and then I started one Bible study with the big one. And just because of her, because they come because she healed, Jesus healed her.
Sina is just one of the many children who travel from their slum to the House of Joy to further their studies and spend time in a clean space.
Sometimes they go to school and then they go back home. They are so tired, it's so dirty. So how they can make a homework, how they can take a rest, because the parents, the neighbor coming to play card and they make a noise, is not comfortable for them. So they don't have rest properly. So I was thinking, they have to have one place, a clean place, they can come, they can watch one movie, they can know each other, spend the time with the bond.
32 sponsored children come here every day, give or take a few siblings and friends. They do their homework, take Bible lessons and learn Khmer and English. This House of Joy is central to most of the slums the project operates in, so children walk or come here by bike. And they even have a soccer team. The boys eager to test their skills against teams from local NGOs and orphanages today at a tournament across the city. This is a big deal for the boys who train twice a week, as this competition only comes around every 4 months. And as this mother hen watches from the sidelines, she dreams for these teenagers.
My dream is to see these kids, all these kids going to the university, have a different life in the future. They can grow, they have a good education, and they can have a good job, a family, you know. They can help the father, the mother. They can go out to the slum.
Half of Cambodia's population are under the age of 20. Half of Cambodia is made up of children and teenagers. So that gives me hope. You know, it's a very lively, a very young generation.
The future is limitless, but this hasn't always been the case. Just 3 decades ago, Cambodia was in the throes of one of the worst genocides the world has ever seen. This old school turned prison complex in Phnom Penh is a monument to the horror. Within 4 short years, dictator Pol Pot had annihilated 3 million Cambodians through execution, slavery and starvation. His dream was to create a simplistic Cambodia, reverting back to an agricultural past, without technology and without education. Vietnam brought an end to Pol Pot's deadly regime in 1979. This sickening event haunts many nationals today.
The fact that there's a whole generation almost missing, so there's a lot of people who I guess are our age who don't have grandparents, never had grandparents, maybe never had parents. So there's a whole lot of their history and their, this is me and I'm Cambodian and proud to be. They don't necessarily have that because they don't know what it is.
Recently, money is coming into the country and money is ending up in the wrong hands. So you see, big cars, big houses, and it's like there's something wrong here. It's odd. And it's the people who've been crushed for so long, who've been oppressed, who've been down for so long. Suddenly they have money. They can handle all this money, and it's not clean money most of the time. They just want to show that, hey, I've made it.
But with all the development in Phnom Penh, the poor people not quite surfing the affluent wave are becoming an unsightly mess. This is bad for business, especially tourism, and more landowners are trying to move the poor out.
This is where the kids used to live. So there was 4 or 5 different communities in little horseshoe shapes, and all the houses were super close together. They got given a couple of weeks' warning by the landlord, that their houses were going to be dismantled.
The music school behind the community wants to build either a car park or a garden.
So we arrived one day and it was flattened. It is what it is now. Everything was gone. But the families didn't have new houses to move into, so they were sort of squatting in here, and the rain had arrived that week. So we had to get tarpaulins for them, and horrific. They're little houses that, might have seemed tiny, but everything had gone. Shelter, the lot, just got bulldozed.
Sadly, this happens too much. Often, entire slums are burnt to the ground and its residents are powerless.
They tell the people, it's okay, we have a piece of land ready for you. So the piece of land was ready before the fire. So you understand that the fire was already planned. And then they send them really out of town, where there's no schools, no clinics, no work, no water, no electricity. So people get kind of excited somehow, like, wow, we are given a piece of land. But when they see what kind of piece of land and how far it is from Phnom Penh, they get very, very disappointed.
And to these people who've lost everything, they then lose their children. Street workers must still scour the pavement for recyclables, so they spend their week in Phnom Penh, returning to their new refugee camps for the weekend. The danger for these children working with no protection, no shelter or adult supervision is, well, scary.
So it's created a worse problem because now the kids are sleeping on the streets.
This is Ravi. We met him having dinner one night along the river.
I'm working when I'm like 10 years old. Before I live with the orphanage.
He's 15 now and works a tourist strip selling homemade friendship bracelets. He does this every night.
If I sell so many, then I go home. If not so many, I stay long term. Sometimes I stay like 12, sometimes 1.
My heart went out to Ravi and I ordered 20 bracelets. This may help him tonight, but tourists like us help keep him in this line of work.
You have compassion when you see a child that needs money, that's obviously not being is malnutritioned, and you think, oh, I should buy something or give them money. But actually, it doesn't help in the long run. It might help them that night. It might not help them because the money may go straight back to somebody who's actually, like Oliver Twist, somebody who's just telling them, you bring the money straight back to me as soon as you get it. And if that's not happening, it's still encouraging them that don't go to school because you get money when you're out on the street, rather than thinking ahead, thinking into the future and thinking, but if I go to school and if I get an education, I won't have to do this for the rest of my life, and then my children won't have to do this either. It's their thinking past today, which you can understand. They've never really been taught to think past today because for many of them, for generations, this is maybe, the family for 30 odd years since the end of the Khmer Rouge, this is how they've lived. So they don't really have a concept of hope.
Tim says Cambodia's salvation lies in the education of its people. He believes that one of the answers for this extreme poverty is in convincing the masses in the provinces that city life is not better, and it's not easy to find work if you are unskilled.
How can we prevent people coming to what they think is Disney World when it's not Disney World? Now that the television is in the countryside and people see Phnom Penh, the big high buildings, the shopping malls, it's almost like Bangkok here, so they say, wow, this is the place we want to be. So how to prevent people from the temptation of leaving everything and trying a new life in Phnom Penh? It won't work.
Tim is passionate about Cambodia. Leaving beautiful France, Tim purchased a one-way ticket for Phnom Penh in 1999. He had his sights set on working with children in poverty. It hasn't always been an easy road either.
Yeah, when the thieves came and took everything in my house, when the floods came and the kids from the neighborhood were swimming in my living room and all my albums are floating, my personal pictures that I don't have on computer. When my best friend, a French pastor working here with his wife and 3 kids, he was my bong, my big brother, and he took his life. That just destroyed me. And those days you're just like, I'm out of here.
But it's Tim's faith that keeps him here, living and working in the slums of Cambodia. This is Turn. He is the project's first success story.
I think I saw his mum first putting a cart full of trash along the road, and in the trash a little girl, and that caught my attention. I said, there's a little girl, a toddler, in the trash. She's playing with her toys with the trash. So we got into the slum. They lived in a really poor shack. I mean, every shack is poor, but this shack was probably the worst one in the slum. And then I said to the mom, we'd like to help. And we got Turn, we got the whole family out from collecting rubbish.
I'm very happy that my children go to school. If they don't go to school, I'm very upset because I don't want them to follow my life.
Turn's mother was widowed with 4 children early in life. She had no other choice but to send her children out to work as the landlord threatened to cast them out onto the streets.
During that time, my life is very difficult because I live with fear. If I cannot collect rubbish, I cannot earn and then have no money for food.
The project funded all 4 children in sending them to school. It's also helped set up Turn's mother with a small business.
Then I realized he was not keen to go to school anymore. I could see him, not in school as I would like him to, So I said, Turn, what would you like to do? And Turn looks at me and he says, what I would really like to do or really like to be is a cook. I want to be a cook. I said, at least that's clear, what you want to do.
Through Tim's connections in the expat Christian community, Turn has been able to realise this dream.
Besides doing a business, I also very happy that I know Jesus Christ, and since I believe in Him, He helped me a lot, especially the whole family. Without Jesus, I cannot come to this place. Without the Bong Paoun Project, my family cannot stand today also. I just want to open my own restaurant so that I can help another street kids.
It's not a quick solution. It's not something you do in a weekend, And we say, we don't want people who just, throw food to the kids or, good wishes. We want people who are actually going to invest their time week after week after week going into the pit.
The vision of the project is likened to the story Jesus tells about a man who rescued his sheep from a pit on the Sabbath.
Let's get people who are not interested about looking at the kids in the pit or talking about the kids in the pit or even saying to the kids in the pit, we're thinking about you, or we'll pray for you at our Tuesday night prayer meeting. But people who actually say, hey, we've spent enough time talking. We need to get down there. Sabbath or no Sabbath, we're going down because there's some kids who need to come out of the pit. We're going to go from church to church, schools, wherever the door is open, and just call people, Cambodians, non-Cambodians, and say, are you willing to take a rope, jump into the pit, get your hands dirty, and help one child? You can come and help one day or 20 years. There's still a lot to do down there in the pit. And of course, you can give. Come and help us. We have people who come, not just us, there's many good organizations helping out in the slums. Come and give, a few weeks of your holidays.
What is your name?
They will be the most memorable holidays in your life.
It's the hope of the project that these children will stay in school, grow up, get a job, and dare to dream of a better life for themselves and their families. To break this cycle of extreme poverty takes years and a strong commitment by the child and their bong. Some of these children won't break it, but some will. And for those that do, the possibilities of life are just endless.